Hey friends, it's Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. One of the questions that I get all the time is, Peggy, what can I do? How do we put a stop to the hogwashers, the bad guys, the evil doers, the public serpents? What can I do? I feel helpless and hopeless. And I'm so grateful that you're asking this question because there are specific things that you can do. I am a person that wants to get you out of the spin cycle into the solutions cycle. And I endeavor on this channel not only to inspire and educate and encourage and empower you, but actually to provide some actionable how-to things that you can do. And I'm going to share with you a very detailed description of what a lovely, healthy American is doing, has been doing. And I am so inspired by what she is doing, and I know that you will be as well. So also let me know in a comment things that you have done to take action. Maybe you've gone to a board meeting, maybe you've written a letter, maybe you've watched a video, and maybe you've shared a video, maybe you've commented on a video, maybe you've sent a letter to a representative. All of these actions are valid. There's no right or wrong here. Going to a protest, signing a petition, certain people may find themselves more inclined to do certain activities. And the ones that I'm going to share with you from my Healthy American Andy, I know are going to be inspiring, empowering, and encouraging to you as well. So before I do that, let me just bring you a word from the sponsor. I'm so grateful to have you on board. And I'm so grateful to the sponsors of my videos. That's how I'm able to bring you this important information at no charge. And here we are. I want to go over right here to noblegoldinvestments.com. And chances are you've been here, maybe not at this website, but I hope that you will go. But you know all about the chaos in the markets, the oil and the stocks. And just when you thought it was safe and that interest rates were rising, new threats appear to come out of nowhere. We've got tensions that are boiling from Asia to Europe. And so adaptation is the key here to safeguarding your wealth. You may not have considered gold before. And I don't want you to think of it as speculation, but like insurance. And right now, you probably need some insurance. Noble Gold Investments has been protecting investors from disaster for years with precious metals. So if you're worried, it might be time to take a fresh look at gold and silver. Gold is a proven safe haven. And here you go. You can see how you can get free information by putting in your email address there. You want to consider gold as a proven safe haven for your portfolio and a volatility balance against uncertainty. And if it helps, Noble Gold Investments is also giving away this free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin with its new IRAs this month. So if you open up your Noble Gold Investments IRA or 401k rollover, you can claim your coin today. Remember, crisis brews and portfolios waver, but gold insulates. So secure yourself against these threats. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com. You can give them a call at 877-646-5347. Noble Gold Investments is the only gold company I trust. Please check out the description box below where there's also a disclaimer that there's no guarantee of any kind. And of course, investments can be at risk. So check it out, noblegoldinvestments.com. Friends, I want to share with you this incredible and encouraging email that I got from a lovely, healthy American, Andy, in San Diego. She has been on the front lines for the last several years. We know each other. We have rallied together, and she is a person that is all about action. So I'm just going to read to you the email that came in, and then I'm going to share with you these flyers, and you'll see how that ties into the action. Because people ask me all the time, what can I do? Well, here is your how-to. So she has created a flyer saying how the government is stealing everyone's homes. And I'm going to read from her email now. She says, I've been out the past couple of days walking door to door with my flyers, leaving them at people's doors, choosing areas to walk where people own their own very nice homes and who don't want to lose their homes. Many people are out in these neighborhoods walking their dogs or working on their homes outside. So it's been a great opportunity, she says, to talk to many people. Also, where people have their doors open, but the screen is shut or their dogs start to bark when I approach, people normally come to the door, and it's an opportunity to talk to them that way. And she is an animal lover, as am I. And she writes, my number one purpose in life is love of animals. So that connection helps the people to be open to hearing as well. She said she has only had positive feedback and appreciation from everyone she talks to. She said, everybody has been so grateful for what I am doing and for giving them the information to save their homes. And I'm going to explain that in just a moment. She writes, there have been only a couple of times when people didn't have time. The main focus of my flyers and what I am pointing out to them is how the government is stealing everyone's homes. She said, when you start out with a line like that directly affects people losing their homes, they want to listen, especially because most people don't trust the government on either side, left or right. She writes, I have a few other points that I get across right away that people have literally been seeing right in front of their eyes and they've been angry about, so they want to hear more. So the first thing she said is, I asked them, have you noticed the huge residential complexes going up everywhere? And have you noticed that they've been removing driving lanes and replacing them with bicycle lanes? All right, just a little time out, friends. You know, I call these the stack 'em and pack 'em, where they are these high-rise, high-density residential areas that are paid for by your tax dollars and mine. And in California, especially, they are just going in everywhere because the government has passed laws requiring these cities to have a certain number of these high density homes because of the housing crisis. What's interesting is these pack 'em and stack 'ems are basically empty. And again, they were paid for with all sorts of incentives for the developers. They don't care that they're empty. They got their money long ago. This also is happening in Hawaii. I brought that information to you in some of my previous coverage on Maui, and I will continue to bring you coverage on Maui because so many of you are asking me for updates. But what Andy, my healthy American that is writing this email and going door to door to talk to people about is these pack 'em and stack 'ems, and the driving lanes are being removed with bicycle lanes in California, and I know where you are as well. And there's nothing wrong with having a bicycle lane, except when it's at the expense of the drivers, especially in California, where we are a car culture. We don't really have the distances where people can travel easily. And I've spoken about that at great length. What if you have, a broken foot? How are you going to ride your bike? What if it's raining outside? What if you're trying to take your dog to the vet? You just put them in the basket? What if you have children? What if you're carrying or need to bring things home? You see, they don't want us to own things. So being on a bicycle, you can't buy a lot of things or carry things home or travel long distances. So it's all part of the evil 15-minute city, smart city plan. And this is what Andy in San Diego is seeing. And this is what she is alerting her neighbors to. So I want to keep going and then I want to share with you these flyers that you can model as well. Okay. So she says, I start with that lead. And then she said, it's a very good point that keeps their attention because they've been seeing these things and they're frustrated and they have no clue what's going on. She writes, especially if they're watching the mainstream media merry-go-round news, as I call it, and many still believe in the power of voting and they believe it on their mayor, et cetera. So she writes, another thing that I bring up is that insurance companies are no longer offering homeowners insurance and they are turning condominiums into apartments, meaning you're not going to be able to own them. So people who bought and paid for their homes, often elderly, who no longer want a big home to care for, they've paid off their mortgage, they own their home, and now they're being kicked out by billionaire development corporations who just want to make money and steal their homes. This is what Andy is writing. She says, depending on people's time and interest, I bring up the first couple of points, and then I point to this flyer, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment, with the resources, and she lists different websites and individuals, YouTube channels and websites where she gets information. Catherine Austin Fitz is one of those. She includes me and many others. And she also recommends that people go to Odyssey or Rumble and sometimes YouTube as well. So she continues to write, of all the insanity in our world right now and the teaching of hatred and fear on mainstream news, people are losing so much money no matter what their economic position is. They want to do something and they don't know what to do. And this is what some of you have been writing and asking me, Peggy, what can I do? So she says that I tell them that I start I've started to use only cash for everything and avoid using my credit card, because if they try to move us to cash free, they will have complete control of our bank accounts. And this is what Andy is recommending, and I do as well. And I have said that I've gotten away from kind of online banking. I like to do my banking in person. I like to do cash and checks. And there are some things where I am roped in. I mean, when I get on YouTube, they send me a code to my phone that I have to use. And of course, the phone is a tracking device that we pay for. But the more and more that we can get off these kinds of devices, the more that we can pay cash, the more that we don't participate in these kinds of digital relationships, the better. So definitely using cash is one of those things. So she says, on her flyer, she points out, she said, if we try to leave the 15-minute city that they're forcing upon us, our credit cards will not work outside of that area. Wow, that would be really time, I think, for people to, they really will stand up if that happens. So she continues to write, and I'm almost done here. This is the most perfect and important time for people to be active, to go door to door, especially in nice neighborhoods where people want to keep their homes. It seems to help when people have American flags outside, when they believe in freedom. And she said that she personally doesn't vote any longer, but she finds that certain people that are involved in voting and in politics in particular seem very interested in the message that she has to share. She writes, it has become so visible in neighborhoods now, and people are no longer locked away, right, with all the hogwash. She says they are frustrated and want to stop what they see going on, and they don't get the truth from their local governments. And she said, you and I are the only resources these people have. She continues to write, if you really want to make a difference, all right, everybody listen up. If you really want to make a difference, it's time to go door to door. Be loving, give the info on the resources, plant the seeds, and let people know that non-compliance is the most important thing they can do, along with educating their neighbors and not supporting businesses that no longer accept cash. All right, let me interrupt her email for a moment, because even prior to the hogwashing that was sloshed all over us in March of 2020, there were business establishments that I stopped going to because they put up a sign that said, no cash. And they tried to justify it by saying it was easier and they didn't have to worry about watching the till. I mean, if you don't hire people that you trust to handle money, why did you hire them? That's my viewpoint. And I also believe in freedom of choice when it comes to our money, and the money, cash, is legal. So I should have a right to use it. And I personally don't have, for many, many years, I have not used credit cards. I don't believe in carrying debt. And I do have debit cards, but I find that even using cash helps me be much more mindful of how much I'm spending, because when you just pull out the card, it's easier to just, you're not really feeling the cash. So spending the cash, using cash helps in so many ways. And there are businesses that I will never use again because of that stance. I also find it discrimination. So like, why don't I have the right to use the form of payment that I want? All right. So Andy, who's writing this email, agrees. And she said, I am especially choosing areas not where I live, because so many people know me where I live already, but I go to places where there are nice homes, preferably not the HOAs. She said, but I will hit those next, maybe just because there might be some restrictions. I'm not sure of going door to door. She said, in the non-HOA areas, I think people possibly may be the type of people who are accustomed to thinking for themselves and wanting their freedom to choose, as opposed to the HOAs who may want the HOA to take care of things. Okay, she does explain it. She goes on to write, if there are other things we can do, I would love to know more. And so would I, friends. Let me know in a comment things that you have done that have made a difference. Have you called your representatives? Do you vote? Do you not vote? Do you have a bumper sticker on your car? Hubby had a bumper sticker that said, the truth wears no mask. And I'm like, whoa, you are just asking for trouble. And the interesting thing is, even in California and other places where we have traveled, we have gotten nothing but positive comments on that bumper sticker, which, by the way, came from Sophia Smallstorm, who has been in the freedom fight for many, many years, speaking about our skies and what they are doing to them. And she made all of these bumper stickers. And in the early years, I sent those out to people when they sent a donation. And hopefully those bumper stickers have made their way onto the cars where they need to be. So there was one that said, "Truth wears no mask." Another one eludes me right now. But that's another way of taking action and getting your message across. So let me know if you have a bumper sticker, if you would like a bumper sticker. I could get some made and sell those if you're interested. So she writes, I've been telling people for years to get the children out of government schools, to stop supporting the government, but about 90%, she said, sadly, of the so-called freedom people still comply in the area of the government schools. And I've spoken on this channel at length about my freedom learning approach, which basically get your children out of school. And I will be bringing you more content on that in the coming months. I have a colleague, Heather Martinson. I've got videos on my freedom learning playlist, so please check those out as well. She said, I'm planning on making new flyers that were particularly focus on the theft of people's homes, their resources, and there may be a few more. And she said, I might do some memes for the flyers as well. She said, try to imagine if every single person that wanted freedom started going anywhere and everywhere where people have homes, the homes that they want to keep. And if all of us start doing this, we can all make a huge difference. Just as an aside, I want to interpret her comment about the government wants to take your homes, meaning, at least in California, they are putting on so many restrictions that it's going to be onerous. It's going to be so difficult for people to own their homes. Homeowners insurance, fire insurance, flood insurance, earthquake insurance, all of these things that are becoming obligations on the homeowner in California, and the restrictions in terms of you can't have natural gas hookups, you can't burn a fire in your fireplace, you can only use electric appliances, and it's just getting to the point where it's going to be very expensive to comply with these things. And I believe that there's going to be a huge backlash and whiplash of people not complying, especially when it comes to the construction company and even the tradespeople, where all of these, like even the gardeners now can't use a certain gas fueled. I'm not in favor of leaf blowers, don't get me wrong, but I do believe there should be the freedom of choice, and it's just going to drive up costs. Of course, the mortgage rates are out of sight. The cost of homes, at least in California, are out of sight. And this concept of wanting to move people out of their homes and into the Packham and Stackhams, making that more, I guess, they're trying to attract people to that, but this is the direction that the powers that shouldn't be are moving in. So she said that she loves going door to door. She's done it for years, promoting her own business. It's a great way to get exercise. She writes, I could, use my headphones, but I like to turn them off when I see people so I can talk to them, be outdoors, get fresh air, meet a lot of people and their animals. So I want to share with you the flyers that she has. And she, in just a moment, she says that anyone can make their own flyers, keep them as simple as possible, and include the main facts that will get people to open their eyes and want to learn more. And then again, she lists some of the websites that she goes to. And she said, if you're making your own flyers, choose whatever resources you feel will reach those people. And she says, I'm very careful not to bring up the cooties issue unless I get a sense from people that they already know it's hogwash. There are so many people, she writes, that still believe in that. And that's when I specifically restrict the conversation to just keeping their homes and exposing government corruption. She said, I try to be very polite and respectful. She said another very important thing that she's been doing since day one, since she never locked herself down, she writes, I have been observing the complete redesign of all of the streets in 2020 that was going on 24/7. She said when people were locked in their homes, they were not outside. So she, Andy, went to these construction workers who were redoing the streets. and who are building these huge residential complexes. And she started out talking to them. And she said, you are building your own prisons. And then she would point out the issues on her flyer. And she used to go to the Board of Supervisor meetings, she said, but it was very clear in the beginning that they're not open to hearing anyone. By the way, some of you are asking for an update on my lawsuit. I will be bringing that to you very shortly. And she writes, and I've seen Andy at the Board of Supervisors at our beach church at different events throughout Southern California. She has signs on her van. She sometimes wears a sandwich sign where she has just poster board in a bright color, and she writes things on it, and she's got it on her front and back to catch people's eyes. She is a one-woman force of nature that is making an impact, and she's taking action in a way that makes sense for her. So she says that she doesn't care for the Board of Supervisor meetings anymore because they're very, they don't listen, and people are getting arrested and beaten up. And she said that she lives in San Diego. She says, that's what's going on here. I'm of the belief that people that move to other areas, instead of standing up where they live, that when they're done and successful in San Diego and other areas, they're coming for everyone else in their so-called off-grid areas, just like they did in Maui and other places. I mangled that sentence. What Andy meant is that she believes that people should stay and fight because this is going to happen wherever you go. You might try to outrun it, and it's going to happen. They're using California definitely as a test case, and New York. Of course, we're seeing what's happening in Paradise in Hawaii as well. I want to make my own little comment here. I personally don't have any judgment or issue or concern about somebody moving. There are plenty of people that have left their communist countries to come to the United States. I don't begrudge them if they came here legally. There are plenty of people living in Miami and Florida, for example, that left Cuba, and their life is better because of it. And they're actually able to fight more vigorously because of that. So if you find that for your safety and well-being and financial and spiritual needs, that you have moved out of one of these hard-hit areas, bravo for you. You need to do what's right for you. Just like I personally would never live in a crime-ridden area, if at all possible. And I did a video some weeks ago where I talked about a very brief period of time where I lived in Los Angeles, and I did feel that it was unsafe. And I don't want to put myself in that position. This was many years ago, and it's only gotten worse, actually. So you should do what works for you. If you believe that living in another place is going to bring you more peace of mind, a better financial picture, better health and safety and opportunities for you and your family, by all means, do what you need to do. There's no reason that you should stay and suffer if you don't have to. But as Andy is pointing out, be realistic and continue to fight from wherever you are, because it is coming to a state near you. So she says, people must develop the courage to refuse to comply. If you don't disobey now, likely you will not get the opportunity later because it will be too late. And I applaud Andy. She has been banned from the county libraries for breathing oxygen. She is walking the talk. She is one of the very few people that can join me in saying hashtag never have, never will comply with any of this. So I am grateful and honored to call her my friend and a healthy American. She finishes off by saying, I also post flyers everywhere in public, but I think the greatest thing people can do is to talk to people that own their homes and do not want to lose them. So go door to door in areas where you know that people want to keep their homes. Be polite, respectful, and keep that the main focus. She finishes off by saying, one guy I spoke with who had a beautiful property and an American flag was very upset because he owned several properties, and the government has been threatening him with tearing those down to build up bigger properties. She said, I don't think this is typical, but keep in mind this can also bring different economic levels together to fight for this insanity. I would love to see all economic levels come together, she says, and recognize that this is hitting all of us. So let me share with you what I've got from Andy. And Isn't this so inspiring, friends? I absolutely love this. And I do want to let you know that what's happening in Maui, I'm going to be bringing you some information about what's called eminent domain. And this hits home for me because my grandfather, my mom's dad, who came from an Eastern European communist country. So I have this, in my blood to fight for freedom. And he lost his home to eminent domain outside the Chicago area. I've spoken on this story before. I will bring that to you again because I want everybody to be aware of what possibly could happen when the public serpents want to push their agenda, as I call it, ahead. But first of all, let me share my screen. And here is just a sample of the document that Andy has. Let's see if that works. So I increase it a little bit. So this is what she typed up, and she uses her own money to reproduce these and pass them out to people. So here's one, and she's got the different websites. She's got some of the bullet points. This is really focused on the 15-minute smart cities that are happening right where she is in the Encinitas, San Diego area. This one's sideways, but again, talking about the 15-minute cities. There are some images and websites. And here's another one. She says, Doctor and other experts, truth, freedom, and love. She's got several people there. I'm listed as well. I really appreciate that. And a lot of those that I really believe in, such as Kelly Brogan, Tom Cowan, Andrew Kaufman. There are many here that I consider as not only fellow freedom fighters, but as friends, as you are, as my healthy Americans. So don't you feel empowered, inspired, encouraged, and ready to take action? Let's all give Andy a round of applause, not only for doing what she's doing, but for reaching out to me with that detailed, lovely letter that specifically gives you a how-to. Let me know in a comment below if this is something you would be willing to do. I also would say that maybe going with a friend might be a way to help you feel supported and kind of break the ice so you don't feel it's all on you. I love the idea of going in pairs. I think 2 people is probably great. I don't know that people want to see a whole group of people approach them in their home. Maybe that's just me, but I think 2 people, friendly looking, smile on your face, striking up a conversation. She had nothing but positive interaction with people going door to door. So huge applause, huge props, huge admiration, huge respect for Andy giving us this example of what you can do. All right, friends, thank you so much for being on board. Another thing you can do is to sign up for my free Substack, peggyhall.substack.com. The description is the link is in the description box below. And do me a favor and resubscribe to this channel. Make sure that you like, that you comment, that you share. Let's try to outwit this algorithm that is really playing dirty with my numbers here. And then I've got my backup channel, which is Living Swell with Peggy Hall. That's here on YouTube as well. I'm not posting as much on Brighteon and BitChute and Rumble and so forth, just limited resources. And I really want to keep this channel going. I do have my final backup channel, which is peggyhall.tv. It's an entire archive and vault of thousands of videos, including my in-person appearances and several of my husband's sermons and the messages that I've delivered as well in person. So I hope that you will check that out. Thanks everybody for being on board, and I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming broadcast.